My wife pushed for open marriage to duck her boss. Now she's begging me back. Hello all. Never once did I think I would get to this point, to the point of reaching out to strangers on the internet for guidance. But here we are. My wife and I have been together for 10 years, but married for 8. We met in college and were each other's firsts and only. I honestly thought we had a unique and beautiful relationship because of that, but it appears that was just me. Some time ago, my wife began working at a new company. At first, she found it difficult to fit in because she's always been reserved, but after encouragement from me, she made friends with a group of girls, some of whom were single, divorced, or dating, but not married. At first, I was happy she made friends, but then she started going out for drinks, partying, or something else her friends had planned. I became concerned by her change in behaviour and tried to talk to her about it, but at the same time, didn't want to restrict her in any way. It started to affect our relationship in the bedroom. My wife wasn't one to initiate intimacy, but with her continued going out, she was either too tired or wasn't in the mood. At some point, her company got a new manager whom my wife and her friends had taken a shining to. She began mentioning him in passing, but it got to a point where she was pointing out how he handled certain problems that didn't seem to be work-related. I questioned her fascination with this man and she brushed off my concerns. She even started asking if I regretted not having more experience with women, to which I said no because she is all I ever needed. I swore I thought for a moment I saw a flash of sadness in her eyes, but she quickly changed the subject. She started mentioning open marriages as a way to spice up our marriage. I was taken aback because my wife was never this kind of person and not that sexually liberal, to be honest. I at first refused and questioned if this had anything to do with the new manager, to which she denied, but said she felt like she missed out. But at the same time didn't want to lose me, so this was a safer option. I warned her that she was playing with fire, then reluctantly and naively agreed. So we set some rules, mainly not to sleep with another person in our home. For a year, my wife went on dates, had one-night stands then, as if I didn't see it coming somehow, she was in some kind of relationship with that manager. I, on the other hand, had a few dates but no one-night stands, because frankly, it felt wrong to me. My wife would ask if I was fine, but she really wouldn't change her behaviour. At some point, I felt the love I had for her, that pure, special innocence of marriage, was gone, and it was killing me inside. I ended up going on a date with an amazing woman who migrated from South Korea. Conversation was effortless. She had the wit of a lightning-fast whip crack and a smile that made one forget himself. This, of course, led to more dates until we were intimate. I honestly never had sex like I had with this woman. I never knew a woman could be so giving and make one feel so desirable. At first, my wife thought it was cute, but as the months went by, she began questioning my relationship with my lover. I promptly pointed out that this was her idea, and even she was in a relationship with the manager I was concerned about. She was silent, looked like she wanted to say something, but held her tongue. She began coming home early to surprise me with dinner and get the house extra clean. She also started coming to my workplace to drop off lunch and initiated intimacy in the bedroom. Honestly, if it wasn't for her opening up our marriage, which I am also to blame for agreeing to, all this would have had me jumping for joy. I barely gave in to her attempts at intimacy, and when I did, it was simply to get it over with. Something in me toward my wife died, and I could see she felt it too. I asked what brought on this change in her. What was different? The response I got was that she wants to show me that she loves me and is happy with me. I never intended to, but I burst out laughing. I asked about her little group of friends, her manager lover, or her one-night stands. She didn't respond that day and simply went to bed in tears. The next day, I get home to find her waiting for me. She told me she wants to close the marriage, that this whole experience was a horrible mistake, that she regrets everything and wants us to be the focus of our relationship again. I told her to be honest with me and tell me what inspired all this in the first place. And wouldn't you know it? It was her group of friends that planted the idea because of their numerous sexual exploits. And when her manager came around, he surprisingly supported that lifestyle and encouraged my wife to live free. Apparently, it developed into an emotional affair, but only got physical once the marriage opened. Wow, like that makes it better. She described it as being drunk behind the wheel of a speeding car. It was thrilling and intoxicating, but the price of this decision has become too much for her to bear. She sees now that she never needed a comparison, that what we had was truly unique and special. But now she feels like she murdered our marriage and any chance of a life together. I told her I might not ever be able to see her as my wife again, and this made her break down in front of me. I simply held her in silence as she cried until she fell asleep in my arms on the couch. She has since left her job and cut off contact with all her friends and her manager, and even told me she's willing to spend the rest of her life making it up to me and work her fingers to the bone to be seen as a wife by me. But I haven't cut contact with my lover. My lover, quite frankly, makes me feel like a man, like I can challenge the world, and my wife hasn't in a while. Truth is, I don't know what to do in this situation. I would love to get the special feeling back if possible, but my lover basically saved me when I was at my lowest. Please help me. Forgot to add, we have our first marriage counseling session in a couple of hours. Not sure how that will go.
Well, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Honestly, people have great lives, and somehow they feel like they don't. And in the process of trying to fix what's not broken, they eventually break it.
You should make her self-report herself to HR first and settle that little score before even discussing any further reconciliation. I feel rather certain that your Korean girlfriend would not be so reckless with a marriage to you as your current wife. How strange that it's all fun and games when she is the one enjoying herself, but dead serious when you start making new friends and feelings.
Can't understand why OP didn't demand her phone to find out the real story behind the end of her fling.
I couldn't agree more. Look around and you'll see tons of miserable people living amazing lives. Why? Why do they do that? What's so hard about seeing the cup half full? Why can't the grass be greenest here, right where you stand? Edit. Not directed at OP. I feel for you. I don't think this is something you wanted. To an extent, your hand was forced. It's a shame, but very few people who are ungrateful for what they have all of a sudden get and remain grateful. Good luck with your wife. That's gotta be hard.
I met her on an evening when my wife was on one of her dates. I was coming from out of a bookstore, where I spent most of my evenings when this whole fiasco started. She, my lover, was being followed by a short, beefy man yelling at her, and when I saw him grab her arm and violently turn her around, I unconsciously stepped in. I practiced judo, but it's nothing spectacular. With that, I was able to restrain him and accidentally dislocated his wrist. It turns out she got him fired for sexual harassment, and he didn't take it too well. Afterward, she insisted on buying me coffee as a thank you, to which I agreed. As for her reaction to the open marriage, it was at first hesitation. She was adamant about not being a homewrecker, but after she learned the full scope of my wife's actions from me, she basically threw caution to the wind.
Like, I'm all for healing and bonding after affairs, but this wasn't a standard affair. This was purposefully planned and orchestrated by her with the hope that you would crash and burn and wouldn't do much because you're a doormat in her eyes. You can check my comment history, and I love to give out steps on what to expect and what to do to fix situations. But this one seems way beyond fixing. Like a normal affair would be lying, no respect for the relationship and partner, gaslighting, no complete answers. In this case, it was not respecting the relationship, emotional affair, planning and scheming, running with technicalities, no remorse or regret or respect. As long as she was winning, she didn't care to stop. When she saw something go wrong in her plan, that's when she fell back and tried to fix it. It wasn't when she got everything and got bored. It was when you started to win and came out better than her. Let me ask you something, my guy, and to the others reading this. Do any of you think she would have closed any of this if he hadn't found the better person? To cheat usually comes with multiple causes, from bad influence to selfish dreams and curiosity to boot. To change for the better and show regret like she didn't happen because she snapped out of it by herself, but because she felt defeated compared to him. Like, this relationship is too much to fix and will most likely achieve nothing substantial. I could be wrong, because anything can happen. You, my dude, already went past the stages that most people go through when it comes to affairs and already found someone else. To reverse this whole progress is like looking at a fully developed town that was made on top of nature. You would have to bulldoze all your progress and put time and money into removing the new town and force nature to come back into the town. Not a lot of good relationships happen when you have to force back feelings.
Wow, didn't expect such a response. Thank you all so very much for your support and advice. I will post an update on our therapy session because, quite frankly, that in itself needs it on trade, but I will answer some questions. My lover is not married, but she does have the open marriage. My intention for this marriage is still unclear, mainly because I feel as much as I love my wife, I cannot trust her yet. At the same time, I find myself unable to truly let go because of our years together. The reason I agreed to counseling sessions was to figure out if I can come to a solution of sound mind and get off the indecisive train. I didn't demand her phone at first because I didn't want to see an actual image of my wife with another man. The mental images and movies were bad enough, but to see the actual picture or whatever would have shattered me more than I already am. I forgot to mention this morning as I got out of the shower, I saw my wife holding my phone and silently shaking as she read a message I had received. I just took it from her and didn't say anything. The message was from my lover. It said, "Good morning, handsome. I slept in your t-shirt last night because I miss going to bed and waking up in your arms. I miss greeting the new day with a kiss from you." I think this messed up my wife quite a bit because she has basically been shadowing me for the past 2 hours, even when I went for a jog. She never once jogged with me, not a single time during our entire relationship.
Relationships require 100% from both. Earlier, you were 200% into her, maybe 20% into yourself. Now, the whole dynamic has changed. You can't just go out, have an affair, and expect your spouse to take you back. It just doesn't work that way. She opened Pandora's box. You don't have to close the marriage if you don't want. Give her the same pill you swallowed earlier. Take care.
Update, our first marriage counseling session. The therapist seemed nice and experienced. She appeared unbiased and actually eager to help. Even though it was our very first session, my wife took it as an opportunity to lay it all out, it seems. She confessed that this group of friends made her wonder if she had missed her chance because she was committed to her first boyfriend and had no other experiences. She never had the same adventures some of these supposedly amazing women had. Remember, some of whom are divorced, but none are married. The therapist pointed out that this can be, and often is, detrimental to a marriage due to the difference in mindset. My wife seemed to agree, then added that after the new manager started approaching her, some of these friends encouraged her to see where it goes, that this was a chance for her to explore or discover herself. She obviously felt guilty, so she says, so she never did anything physical until one of the divorced ones suggested an open marriage as a loophole and told her that some couples come out stronger because of it. So, after regrettably, again so she says, convincing me to open up the marriage, her so-called adventure began. It was intoxicating and blinding but lacked real substance, not like the kind we built over the years, and she started to question her reasons for doing this. She said she could see the hurt in my eyes but told herself this was an adventure. She said she'll never forgive herself for this, her chance to have an amazing experience. So the gravity of it all never hit until she noticed a change in me. At first, she assumed because I went on dates, I would gradually accept her situation and be okay with it. But that all changed when my lover became a constant presence in my life. Apparently, I started to smile again for no reason, and my eyes would light up when I would get a text message or when I cheerfully left the room to answer a call. She said she suddenly felt a pit in her stomach and started to get mini panic attacks for no reason. She went to her friends for advice again, but they said it was a normal reaction for me to have during the adventure. But when the same divorced one who suggested this in the first place said, "It looks like his lover makes him happy," That's when the reality of it all finally dawned on her, and the very real possibility that another woman, and not his wife, gave him joy almost made her pass out. She realized how ridiculous this all was and begged them to help her win me back. But they just told her if she couldn't deal with it. Why did she open her marriage in the first place? She knew then and there that these people were toxic and a threat to our marriage and the life we built. Hence, she's been on a mission to win me back by any means necessary. I, on the other hand, didn't share much, but I did let the counsellor know about the situation on my side with my lover still in the picture, to which the counsellor said no resolution could ever be reached with my lover still in the picture and suggested we book another appointment after tomorrow. The counsellor did say it was unusual for someone to stay with their first this long and gave the impression that any storm can be weathered. I highly suspect she wants us to be one of her success stories. Sorry that it's long, but I figured I might as well give a full update.
Let me get this straight. Your wife was envious of divorced people's lifestyle? What the hell is happening in the world that a person with a failed marriage is being envied? Let your toxic friends help you play stupid games. They won't be there when you win stupid prizes.
LOL, my ex's core friend group are all right in the spot where she now is. 40-ish, miserable, banging married dudes just to have someone in their lives and bemoaning the fact that there are no good men out there. Every one of them was envious of our relationship. They made comments to her constantly about how they hoped they could find a man as good as me. And most of them also cheered her on and even facilitated her meeting and screwing other men. There are plenty of good men out there. If a woman wants to hold on to one, she needs to keep those legs closed. It's that simple.
Okay, OP, time for a slap. Bear with me. Like I said, my lover makes me feel like a man. I assume you are in the West. In the West, there is a very, very small percentage of women who will happily do this for you. I managed to find one after years of dealing with the other kind, so I know what I'm talking about. You're talking about like 1% of highly in-demand women, and you've managed to land one. Now let's talk about your wife for a second. She was a woman who had everything she wanted in life. But ultimately, she let an outsider tell her, here's all the reasons you should put the person who is passionate about you, your one and only, on the shelf, and open all your holes for a guy who couldn't give a shtick about you, but definitely wants to plow. Sounds like what you're doing with your wife and lover right now. Are you determined to be like your wife? Will you take a girl who has eyes only for you and let her hang out to dry because you've got some idea in your imagination who your wife used to be in your history, and will dump a loving girl for someone who is married to you to check the got married box between affairs? If you're determined to be like your wife, then by all means, stay with her. Here's the warning. Your wife only wants you now because you look like a catch, because another girl wants to steal you. That won't last after you drop Korea Girl. You'll be back to square one. And when that happens, you'll have lost both your wife and Korea Girl, because a woman who makes a man feel like a man is in high demand. And then you'll be back on here in a year posting, oh, shtick.